What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Tyler S. Clark, and I am so excited to conduct today's Dream Firm Leader interview. And what I want to do is introduce to you the Da Vinci of dashboards, who provides entrepreneurial thought leaders with real-time intelligent data so they can see what matters to increase their impact on their tribes. The international CPA, whose talents know no borders, a man who's breaking the traditional mold of accounting services with a vengeance and with a smile on his face while he shouts, "What's the 15th deadline?" It is my pleasure to introduce to you the Italian stallion, Oscar Isaac's doppelganger. Google it, seriously, looks like him. And Dream Firm leader of Tribe Impact Analytics, the majestic Michael Casale. Michael,
hello, everybody.
How are you doing today?
Pretty good. I think you should actually introduce me to every prospect I have. I think I would have like 100% close rate, like no matter what I was selling.
Yeah, I mean, that might be a good gig for me. I think I'm going to just start introducing my clients to their prospective clients. I like that. That seems. That's
just module number 7. Just basically get Tyler to introduce you and 100% close rate.
Perfect. That sounds like a perfect sales system. Only if I could clone myself. Well, listen, Michael, I just want to again thank you for taking some time out of your day. It is the 15th deadline. We've got a lot to cover, and we have a number of people on today's call that are very excited to learn about you, your journey to your dream firm, and your hurdles and experiences. So I always like to start at the beginning and get a good understanding of really what got you started with your accounting firm, and we'll say entrepreneurship at large. So there's the accounting piece, but then there's also your desire for entrepreneurship. And if we could split those into 2 sections, I think that would be beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, I think what really kind of started it off, my, growing up, my dad was running his own commercial real estate firm. And so I always just saw him running his own ship, always. And when I finished university, I got into commercial banking because I had finished with finance and accounting. And so I did that, and then at the age of 28, got to accounting. But then I went to industry, so the whole CFO route type of thing. And obviously, the public accounting realm gave me, the knowledge to be able to professionally do my job. And then the CFO type of industry work taught me how to think on my feet really, really quickly. Because sometimes I was dealing with very nice CEOs, other times I was not dealing with very nice CEOs who didn't appreciate my schooling or what I was doing, but I had to do my job anyway. So at a certain point, I think maybe a lot of us have been in a situation where we're working for a company and we're seeing the ship is going down, and it's not because of us, it's because they're just not selling, or just other people are making bad decisions. And like, you know what? I actually went to school to have a stable job. Like, that's it. I'm just going to really go out on my own. I'm going to start my own accounting firm. I've kind of had an idea, or I had this idea in my head. I mean, my dad ran his own commercial real estate firm. Why can't I run my own accounting CPA? I can do that. Sure. So I did that. And technically, I opened my own accounting firm in 2014. I created the corporation, and I was doing like, personal tax returns, but I was still an employee at that time. But it was really 2018 where it was essentially the rug got pulled out from underneath me. And there was a company that I was with was essentially lacking funding and not really getting anywhere. So I said, okay, I have 2 directions to go right now. It's kind of like one of those movies where, like, okay, I can go the maybe more secure route, quote unquote secure route, and get a job, or I can really just take this right now and I can just totally work for myself, jump off the boat. Don't really have a life jacket, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I know how to swim. And so I chose that route. And Tyler, it's when you do something and like you don't even question it, what you're doing is correct. I actually said to myself, okay, this is either going to make me or break me. But I'm going to do it anyway because it's what I really, really want to do. And if you think about it, like, what's life if we're not doing what we really want to do, right? So
you bring up an interesting point related to a high-paying job. I think when most people hear the term CFO, and this is going back a number of years, and you're a relatively young guy, I think a lot of people look at that and potentially think enviously upon that kind of position. But there's this other side of the coin to being a CFO, which is there are still a lot of things that are outside of your control as it relates to the decisions that the company's making. And can we try and influence them in certain ways? And we've had private conversations about some of those experiences that you've had and how frustrating that can be. And to what extent do you believe that those frustrations and seeing the mistakes of some of these higher level companies that have these big staffs and have their CFOs on board how did you potentially see those mistakes and realize, like, if I were in control, if I were doing my own things, not only would I not be making these mistakes, I'd be listening to the advice and guidance of people who could have steered me in a different direction, like I imagine you were attempting to do as a CFO. Was that a big driving factor in your desire for entrepreneurship?
It was, and I think I realized it more succinctly afterwards, like later on, because I was thinking at that time, uh, the way to best drive a company is to look at the metrics, know what to measure, and then you'll know what to manage and move toward that way. And so a lot of times I saw people like almost trying to build something based upon what they felt for the day. And there was a lot of other things where I said, this is not that difficult. Like, why can't, oh, Michael, that's okay. Well, we'll deal with it. Okay, fine, do it yourself, And so, not only did I not feel appreciated, but it was really coming from, if we think about it, everything leads to finance. No matter what anybody says, in my humble opinion, every company, everything leads to finance. Because if the financial part of a business is not running, specifically if the business is somewhat cash tight, then you have to listen to the CFO and look at the things that he's presenting and change things based upon his recommendations. So really, when I saw that, I said, I just can't live my life like this, stressed out all the time, how I can make payroll or pay rent when the things that I'm actually saying are not being implemented. And, Tyler, at another extent as well, there were sparks at that time. Said, what if I was just, everything that I was thinking I could immediately put into place. I know that they've worked, and I could actually see the fruits of that labor. So all these things were kind of building up in the background, and it was almost like a pressure cooker was just building and building and building. And so when I actually made that jump in 2018, I can literally say without a doubt that yes, I did analyze both directions about, okay, so get the job or work for myself, but it was almost like, okay, well, the responsible person says, okay, let's just look at both sides. But then that was like probably a half a millisecond. I said, no, okay, I'm not going to do that job thing. I'm definitely going to go for myself, no matter what it would take. And even now, as I'm pushing forward, Tyler, there's so many improvements and things that I want to do in the future. It's not if, it's just when and how for me.
Beautiful, beautifully stated. And again, this is a big thing that I like to have conversations around with our clients, is that our past experiences can be incredible motivators for our decisions, but they can also help justify our value proposition to our clients. Like Michael has been on the inside of larger companies, and he's seen what happens when people don't have the financial pillar of their business with legitimate strength, or they're not able to see the data as quickly and as accurately as they'd like. There's a lot of things to be able to unpack from that. But what I want to do is I want to maybe move a little bit from that historical CFO position that you had and a bit more towards the early days of your firm, and really the type of clients that you used to potentially work with and still do, and the services you used to provide, like that, what the model used to be in your opinion. And then we'll start talking a little bit about the transition that you're looking to make and making now and continuing to make in the not so distant future. So paint that picture for us.
Sure. I think, probably similarly with many people, we start off with personal tax returns, and that, like, while I was an employee. And so you can immediately, hey, I got my CPA, or I've studied, for this, and immediately you get 10 to 15 people, hey, can you do my tax return? So that's like, wow, I can do that and, make some money. And then and this for me. And then I slowly started to get into not just employees, but self-employed. So, still a sole proprietor, but obviously income, expenses, somewhat of an analytical approach, depending on the person, as far as how they were looking at their business. Then some of those people actually ended up incorporating. So then there was a corporation. And then, slowly they started to talk to their friends. And I think a lot of us, we get, in the accounting industry, we get a lot of referrals. And so I was literally just taking anyone and everyone that called me, like, with a minimum reasonable threshold. Like, I wouldn't accept like $10 for a tax return or something like that. But definitely I was at times accepting like $40 to $50 an hour just to kind of get work in the door, but it was fine, because I think every experience that I had was beneficial from that point. But the problem, Tyler, and I think, and I know we'll talk about this in a little bit, is that I had no direction. I had no like dream client. I had no special sauce, no special skill, no proprietary formula that I was providing to my clients. Like, hey, I'm a CPA, and yeah, you guys knows what that is, right? So you can, if people know exactly what a CPA can do for them, then I was their accountant. If they didn't know what a CPA really did, other than just file the personal tax return, I couldn't, it was sometimes difficult to get maybe more of an engagement beyond that. But I guess, as I was growing into that direction, I was also continuing to be a CFO. And so being involved in meetings where I had, quite significant budget meetings. And there are times, some of the companies I was helping, they were doing, let's say, $3 to $4 million of sales a month, and also $3 to $4 million of expenses per month. So you had to be really, really careful, having meetings like 3 times a week. Each meeting was like 4 hours long. And so being in that realm and like seeing like big pictures, multi-jurisdictional across 3 different countries, tax planning and things of that nature as well. It's one thing to get your CPA, but then it's another thing to be in the seat. Like, Michael, you're the only CPA here. Can you guide us? And by the way, if you make a mistake, the ship's going down. So we're like, okay, I better think about this very well, do my research. And so everything that I was like, doing on that realm, I was then better advising my clients on, not really consciously, but I look at it now like I was giving more advanced advice. So then that was kind of going parallel. And then I think in 2008, when I did move, I felt that I had helped companies raise about $5 million. I had done multi-country budgets and just a lot of very complicated financial planning. So not only did I want to do that, open my own firm, I actually felt that I was in a position that I could offer very good advice. So that's kind of the shift from like personal tax returns only. And I really kind of threw myself into anything that came at me, like, sleeping like sometimes an hour a night for a couple nights per week, just to get certain things done. And I never said that something was above me, even if it actually really was. I just accepted anything that came to me.
It's a great mentality, and I think it really shows your character in an amazing way, which is, I think a lot of people will hear, oh, you were working for $30, $40 an hour as a CPA. It's completely unacceptable. But you are also doing what you had to be able to go through the fire of entrepreneurship and learn from your lessons and be able to really over deliver on the value that you wanted to provide to your clients, and leverage that expertise that you developed by being willing to say yes to things that you felt were outside of your comfort zone. And now you've got this wealth of experience. And before that, before developing that wealth of experience, maybe we didn't have that direction, but now you've got this wealth of experience and clarity on your direction and where you're looking to go. So I want to just ask one more quick question before we move past this particular chapter. Let's talk a little bit about some of the hurdles that you were facing, or some of the hurdles that you were facing before working with dream firms. Give us some tangible examples of some of the things that you just felt were problems, keeping you up at night, things that you just knew had a solution that you, quite frankly, maybe weren't really grasping quite yet.
The first thing I would say is a lack of systems. Obviously, lack of dream client, lack of, having a plan, but more specifically, more granularly, lack of understanding systems, not really believing that I could delegate like big work or, anything other than like stapling papers type of thing, so, and then always thinking, okay, you know what, one day I will have staff, but like, I have to have an office. There was just so many things in my head. And so before I started to work with dream firms, I just felt like I was a one chef, one person restaurant, like doing like, accepting people in the door, seating them, and then getting the order, immediately running to the back, cooking their food, and then putting on a different shirt and coming to the front, serving, and then running back and, putting grease in my hair just to make sure that I looked like a waiter. But, but so it was just something where like, okay, I'm busy. I was busy all the time, like ridiculously busy, but I'm like, what, this should not be that hard. Yes, it would be nice if I could just, offer my core competency and offer my highest value to my clients. Yeah, maybe I'll get there like in 10 years, and even that, like, I was like, yeah, maybe 10 years, could be probably longer as well. I didn't really believe in myself to be able to accomplish a lot in a short period of time. I knew I knew, and I do know that I'm very capable technically, entrepreneurially, and I think personally as well. I don't have any problem, picking up this phone and cold calling anyone. But it was just like, it's just such a fog of like, okay, what do I do first? How do I do it? I don't even know. Okay, well, I'm busy now. I don't have time to think about that. That's kind of where it was.
Thank you for sharing that. And the mental image of you being a chef running around, trying to seat, serve, cook is fantastic, and throwing a little grease in the hair. Man, everyone talks about wearing all the hats, and I've never heard it so eloquently stated and artistically just like in my brain. That's that perfectly describes way too many business owners and especially accounting professionals, because it is difficult to know how to be able to create a little bit of delegation and leverage, what systems come when, so that you can start to elevate to a higher level in your business. Michael, I know this, but I think a lot of other people get the sense that you are very much an individual who will invest in themselves. I can see a lot of influential business books behind you. I know that that's something you do, that you choose to invest in yourself. But I'm curious to know if you had previously chose to invest in any other sort of program to help you to grow your firm.
I would say I bought a few books, but I wouldn't really call that a program. Prior to working with you, there was no program that I worked in to grow my accounting firm. I started to follow you in 2018, as you remember, getting involved in something and learning about, I got involved in something that actually started to teach me about digital marketing, which then I said, okay, well, that's going to help me grow my accounting firm. And I think it taught me a lot on the digital marketing world, which I believe every accounting firm needs to learn, other than, if we don't want to go out and just start knocking on physical doors. COVID or not, it's just, we just don't have time for that. It's just not efficient. So everything from email list, landing page, conversions, all that kind of stuff. I got really deep into that, which I had never been before. But prior to working with your program, I never worked with anyone else, but I never really saw anyone else that was like actually invested in helping accountants grow their accounting firm. I almost just saw like, hey, buy this book and you'll learn about this. I mean, I didn't see the personal dedication. So that's why I went with you.
Well, I appreciate that. I am clearly personally invested in a lot of our clients' success, all of them essentially. And I'm glad that shined through for you. And you bring up something that I believe needs to be a focal point for anybody listening to this. You must have an appreciation for efficient marketing, and you must be willing to let go of things that you realize are not efficient. They're not delivering you what you're looking for. I was just talking to a guy earlier today who wasn't a client, and he was investing about 20 hours a week into marketing, but he was going nowhere. And I said, how can you be investing 20 hours a week into marketing and not be successfully growing your firm? That means the way in which you're investing your time is wrong. And I bring this up because Michael went through a pretty intense educational period to figure out what would be the best things to do, a little bit before with us and a lot with us as well. So that curiosity, not envy, that desire to learn more, to better yourself, to make client acquisition something that is almost an afterthought, is something that needs to be a primary thought for those of you who can't say that with any meaningful conviction. So I appreciate you sharing that more than you can possibly know, because it needs to be the emphasis for people who are struggling to grow.
I would just say, I mean, I think I forget the name of the movie, Jim Jack John or something like that, but I know it's totally something else, but always be closing, like,
Gary Glenn Ross.
Yeah, Gary Glenn. I know his three names, but okay, well, my name is the title now. So, but I mean, it's constantly looking for new people to enter the funnel. And, yes, there is a technical online sales funnel that one could have, but just the theory of a funnel, like you just need to constantly always keep bringing people in. And I guess, looking at not just accounting firms, but many firms as well. And so, I've been involved in many firms, and the firms that have just always thrived are not the ones that, let's say, okay, let's just focus on our systems all the time, or let's just try to make things that we think are cool, which happens a lot. And they don't sell, but, they think it's cool. It's just constantly looking to how can we replicate how we got this client and ascended him and get, when he was at stage one, let's keep finding people at stage one and keep bringing them in. And I think, probably Tyler, as an accounting firm, we grew up hearing word of mouth, have a book of clients, buy a firm. I mean, and that kind of poisons our mind because we're like, all right, buy a firm, you're good. Word of mouth, you don't do any marketing. I remember speaking to a partner at a firm and said, oh, we don't really need to do any marketing. Actually, I don't think we can. We're probably prohibited, which they were not. But, just even if they were like, okay, well, but you can't like cold call people. I don't think that's prohibited. So I think we as accountants need to really think that, okay, we are, managing directors and owners of an accounting firm. Like we really need to be marketers, entrepreneurs, people getting people in the door. And then with the systems that we've built, close them and ascend them. Because that's really, to be honest, and as I've learned from you, the only way to just really grow, and make an accounting firm thrive. So
I mentioned an individual earlier who spent about 20 hours a week on the wrong marketing, but the problem you just discussed is a completely different type of that, which is you're too product focused. You're too focused on the next certification. You imagine that you can't do something or it's illegal to do something when clearly it is. I mean, that isn't even worth like discussing. And we spend 95% of our time in ops and fulfillment. And then we wonder why we're not growing, or we're not growing nearly at the rate that we could or should, with just like literally 10, 15, 20% more of our time and focus dedicated into the front end part of your business, the top end of your funnel, your lead gen, getting people to raise their hands and say, you're finally speaking to me. I want to learn more because I have this problem and you look like the type of person who's invested in getting the right solution into my business. So I want to go back to the beginning a little bit here, Michael, because I think you have a pretty funny story about why you started working with us. Just tell us a little bit about that experience, if you don't mind.
So like, I guess, with when I started, well, it was, I'd been following you, like I said, since 2018. And I just noticed that your emails going out were, I don't know what, they caught me in a different way, or, I started to read them a little bit differently. And I was remembering, I was actually sitting in the parking lot of a pet store, and I parked, I was kind of tired, like I'm just going to go through my phone. And I was looking through your email. This was like the third one that I saw. I think I saw the other two emails, and then this was the third one. Like, all right, I'm just going to read this. I mean, like, I've been following Tyler for like, 2.5 years. I mean, like, yeah, I should read what he writes to me. So then I read that. I was like, all right, I'm going to go to his landing page. And so I read through that, and, I didn't even make it like very much down the page, but I said, I have to do this. This is just, there's no way that, it's not that I want to do this. I just have to do it. So it was like, all right, just take my credit card, just do it. This has got to work. I know it's going to work.
And it's a cool story, but it's a cool lesson for everyone listening, which is you don't know when the moment's going to strike your prospective dream client. I mean, Michael is my prospective dream client basically to a T. If you ask me to like caricature my dream client, I'd be like, well, it's Michael Casal, right? I mean, and that goes for a lot, almost exclusively clients in our program. But my point is you don't know when the moment's going to strike for your dream clients either. And if we have a consistent message that's being deployed on your behalf that resonates with them, right? He said, this is hitting me a little differently. This is speaking directly to me. And it wasn't that he wasn't aware of us. We had a nurture sequence of almost two plus years here, from 2018 to when we actually moved the needle forward. And that might kind of surprise some people, but that's the way marketing works, is that if you get the systems in place and they run, and you can keep delivering a message that resonates, eventually someone's going to be sitting in a PetSmart shopping lot, and they're going to be like, okay, I'm finally ready. I need this. This is the time. And then boom, you've got a new dream client. And that lesson or that story is equally as applicable to anybody else listening to this. There's no difference in how it works for us, for how it works for our clients, and how we teach them to do just that. Let's talk about getting started. Go ahead.
I wanted to mention as well that there was something, and I thought about this later. I said, okay, so there's a certain author when it comes to digital marketing and sales funnels that you and I both follow. And so, I got introduced to that, when I, started to follow in 2018. But going to what you said about a consistent message, had I just seen that email once and not known you back since 2018 and not seen you consistently publish, I'm like, oh, well, if let's say you were silent for a year and a half, and then I saw you again, I'm like, oh, well, he's back on that. Maybe he just started again, but you were consistent in that. And then I almost want to call it the reverse Dream 100, where I get introduced to you. There's someone that you're working with. I look toward them, which is, let's say, in another industry. I trust that person. You trust that person. So therefore, because you trust that person, now I trust you. And that's why it's weird. I don't know, but that's why I said I absolutely, like, I know that Tyler's going to be delivering me this because he's basically reading about that guy, and I saw what he was putting out. So I think that benefiting, like really going after the Dream 100 as well. I mean, that's massive. I think that's probably, if not one of the biggest things that can happen to really just jumpstart getting people to trust you really fast.
And for those who are unfamiliar with the term Dream 100, very quickly, there's really two ways you can market. You can go one-to-one. Like, I can cold call Michael. I don't recommend cold calling, just to be clear, but I can knock on his door. I can literally ping him on Facebook. I can send him a direct message that's directly to him. Or I can go to a thought leader that Michael may already trust, and we can that offers a complimentary, non-competitive product, and we can put something on together that would ultimately allow him to start to trust me by extension. So I just wanted to clarify that for people who weren't listening. And Dream 100 is the fastest way to grow any business, definitely an accounting firm. But great points overall, Michael. I appreciate you sharing that. Let's talk about getting started, because I think when people consider an investment with any sort of program, it's that early part that can be really a little bit of cause of hesitation. They're not too sure what the experience is like. Are they going to be able to deliver that wow, or however you want to frame it? But Michael, what was it like getting started for you?
It was there's a lot of information, and I saw the modules. I'm like, wow, it's just saying it's a lot to go through. I mean, the good thing is, like, all right, I'm going to go through it. But I think that the one thing that you have to constantly fight is okay, well, I'll just do it my way, like Frank Sinatra says, and I really think we need to take the, let's say, college or even high school athlete approach. Okay, you're my coach. I don't understand why this works, but I'm going to do it. And obviously, if you've seen someone like Tyler, who's been successful time and time and time again, really just following, even if you don't see kind of what it, like, I don't see how this all fits together, but I'm just going to do it anyway. So that probably was like the initial phase. But then, as you start to do it, I think what I started to see was it was not like money changes. It was not like I was making more money, but I saw myself changing. And that was probably the coolest thing. Like, even if, let's say, where I want to be financially is, still in the future, I'm like, I have massively changed in a very interesting way. And so for me, I think one needs to kind of keep pushing. Like, it's like you're in a car, like you slowly move up to a speed bump. And so you're touching the speed bump, and you really got to press on the gas to get over the speed bump. And then once you're kind of at the top, you start to get the gravity that's pulling you. So it's just that initial, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know how this all fits together. That it was probably something that people just need to push through, knowing that clarity is going to be coming, not at the end, but every day.
You said it in a way that I think is perfect at the end there, which is clarity doesn't come at the end. It comes every single day, because as long as you continue to move through and make progress, you're going to understand how each of these parts fits in. Creating your dream firm is not one and done. There are a number of moving pieces and parts, both mentally and what you have to be able to build and create and implement from a systematic perspective, that will allow you to achieve that. But if you don't have it in a bite-sized way, and you might not be totally clear on exactly how this is going to come into play. Like, we asked for the Dream 100 list very early so that you can start to get you can start to see what's going on in the industry you choose to target. We're going to talk about your industry in a little bit and your angle, which I know a lot of people are very interested and excited about. I mean, dashboards are like almost like not talked about in accounting, which is like bizarre and strange to me, but we'll get to that in a second. My point is that when you're when you're looking at what this piece is, then all of a sudden it comes to play a little bit later on, but now it makes perfect sense. You go, awesome. Like now I see why that was so important and there was benefit from it in the first place. So 100% agree, Michael. I appreciate you sharing that. Let's talk about how it's changed your life. You've got a pretty interesting story from where you started to where you are. So how would you just summarize that?
So what I would say is that now I'm working a lot more on my business and not just in my business. Because before I was really working only in my business. And essentially what that means for anyone who may not know what that means is, I'm actually taking, instead of actually doing the corporate tax returns or the heavy, the CPA work, stepping back and creating a system that then would work maybe with not my personal involvement. And so I think, the way I've changed Tyler probably in the most significant way is that I have not been, I'm not embarrassed to say, by the way, today I didn't do any CPA work, and I think it's kind of a, you go to work, especially if you go to these large firms, like, all right, I'm going to do an audit today, and I'm going to do a corporate tax return. Like, I didn't do any of that stuff today. I just totally set up a email sequence, how to get new clients, and I just got 10 clients in the door. It's like, well, you kind of cheated. I don't think so. So, I mean, I think just being okay with not doing that detailed work and stepping back is really what makes you successful. I mean, otherwise, we're just kind of a employee to ourselves type of thing. But I would say that going forward, constantly making sure that you have that, me making sure that there's that dedicated time in each day and each week to focus working on my business and on my systems. And then knowing that has to be a regular routine for the rest of my life and being happy about it. And then looking for, let's say, other methods of improvement and efficiency has really been how I'm a different person now, like from a year ago.
It's amazing the progress that you've made to really elevate out of the weeds of your business. And that's what it's about. I think there's a lot of talk in the industry about working on instead of working in your business, but people tend to not have a really meaningful way of doing that or staying consistent enough with it. But I want to change the topic just a tiny bit here because Michael, you have tremendous clarity on the vision of your company now. And that vision is not similar to a lot of the visions of other accounting firm owners out there, specifically the service that you're providing and the dream client avatar that you've crafted, right? I mean, this was a big thing for you that you really feel extremely confident, certain in this direction now. So let's talk a little bit about that service proposition offer that I think is really the future of accounting, if I'm being perfectly honest with myself. And what called you towards it? And just give us a little bit of that kind of like, what about dashboards made you say, this is going to align closely with this new dream client that I've defined? And of course, if you could go into a little detail on the dream client as well.
Sure, absolutely. So, in my humble opinion, financial statements, are maximum 25% for historical analysis, and that's it. It could be like 5%. Like, I mean, the past is the past. Like, okay, now what do we do going forward? And so anything that you're measuring and managing makes no point. There's no point to that if you're not changing your behavior to do something. And, it's upsetting because often within, let's say, corporations that are not accounting for just any corporation, it's there a lot of times, okay, well, we did that last year. Oh, okay, let's just try to do better. I'm like, okay, well, maybe let's try to see what our numbers were and, incrementally change things to get to where we need to be. And I think a lot of times I really like the movie Moneyball. And so I just think, if anyone who's not seen that movie, essentially instead of in baseball, it was about the Oakland A's, which is actually one of my favorite teams. Instead of just focusing on grand slams, and then the really expensive players in that movie, they just focused on finding people who were really, really good at base runs. And like, if you don't strike out, like you just keep making home runs, like just people keep getting around. And so I think the biggest thing for me is that, all right, so let's define for a company where you want to be cash wise, profitability wise, or whatever it is. and then incrementally break that down on how we could get there, instead of just trying like, all right, let's just try to close this guy for like 10 million. I'm like, why don't you just close 1,000 people for a smaller amount of money and just focus on that, and then you will get to where you need to be. Because if you're focusing on that one possibility, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. A lot of times it doesn't work. So, and then, in the accounting industry, Tyler, I noticed a lot of times that, a lot of accounting firms where I work, they were like, all right, so here's your tax return, here's your financial statements, and your revenue went up like this, your account receivables went down like that. And we all know when, we're speaking to our clients, like, okay, so you have your gross margin went up, and they're like, okay, like, do you understand what that means? No. So something about margin, I don't know. I think there's a movie about that. No, but anyway, so really breaking down for customers, for my clients. All right, so let's just really get into analyzing your company, because that's really going to be what makes you get to your level of success. And so, Tyler, I guess when I started to get into digital marketing, and there's a huge emphasis on dream client, and everybody, like the people that I was reading about were thought leaders in themselves. Thought leader being somebody that is, I guess I would describe it as something that is pushing the norm, and the way that we all think in general, kind of reaching beyond that and perhaps extending popular thought into areas that people have not really accepted yet. And what I would almost call keeping humanity out of extinction, if you want to think about it that way, to that extent. But it really is pushing the normal thought forward. And so, helping those people be commercially successful, because those are the people that I like to read their books of, like, that's like my perfect thing. And it's both who I've been reading, the person that I'm trying to become. And so it was a really good fit for me. Now, regarding dashboards, and there's a big push. There's Fathom, which is one type of software. There's Spotlight reporting. And so there's a big push that I think we're just starting to see the wave, and I think it's going to be a huge thing, that doing a tax return and, let's say, even baseline financial analysis of, all right, this is where your numbers went, that's great, but it needs to go a lot further. Let's look at many different metrics, pulling both financial and qualitative in as well, and see where we need to be, and then providing that type of service. So obviously, when I do that, I provide the bookkeeping to my clients to make sure that they have updated books, because otherwise I can't do anything. But then really taking my experience working in corporate finance and the challenges and the struggles, and just basically like feeling like, banging my head on the desk when nobody was listening. I'm like, if we just, what I wanted to say to those people back then is like, if we just focus on, these metrics and push toward that, we will move toward success, which is what everybody wants. So when I went on my own firm, like, all right, and then as I started to craft my dream client, I said, that's really the direction that I want to go.
There's so much to unpack from that answer, but I think the coolest thing I heard there was people who want to stave off the extinction of humanity, right? Like that's like the end result of a thought leader. That he's done so much research. He is this type of person. He works with these type of people, and that resonates with them. It's the people who understand, like, our end goal here is to push the norms and to extend the runway here for a larger purpose. Whether it's extinction or not, I don't think it really makes much of a difference. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's irrelevant. When you have a deep understanding of your dream client, you can speak in a certain way that will resonate with them and go, this person gets it. And then we take a look at what is the future of this industry, and what is the beginning. I like the way you phrase it, like the wave that we're starting to see. And how can you catch that a little early? How can you be on the forefront like a thought leader, but inside of your own respective industry? That's such an amazing answer. Anyone watching this, we're going to have the replay. I encourage you to go back and listen to what Michael said, because there was so much there that amazing. So let's move forward a little bit here. Let's talk about your biggest challenge throughout this entire process of becoming a dream firm leader. It's not easy to become the leader of your dream firm. So there's some pretty big challenges. Michael, what do you feel that the biggest one was for you?
The biggest one, Tyler, was letting go and delegating, like simple as that. And so, working with you, I have found the source of offshore help, And I guess, before I was thinking, anyone I get is probably just going to be able to, like, I don't know, type in a few numbers in Excel, and that's it. Obviously completely wrong. And, but that was just my fear. And I guess I've had bad hires when I've, had people that have worked in the firms that I've worked in the past. But as I went toward that, and as I said, all right, let me just have these interviews, it's just like the lights came on. And in the movies, when you hear like the angels sing, like, wait, this is like my future to like getting all my work done. But the biggest challenge, Tyler, is just like putting that in place. And I remember when I was so close, I had watched the modules on getting a lead generation specialist, and also bookkeepers as well too. And I said, I remember I sent you a boxer. I said, wow, I've done this, I've looked at, and then you said to me, like, post the job. So that was the biggest, like, why don't I just, okay, I'm gonna post the job. So for me personally, it was getting out of the research mode and getting into like doing mode. I'm like, all right, this is not perfect. Because I think that helped me back from a lot of things. Like, all right, no, it's got to be the perfect job description. I have to have perfect questions. I have to make sure Acuity is working perfectly. But if you just push yourself forward, like, no, I'm just going to do this even though I'm not comfortable. That was the most difficult thing. But then when you see that, oh, Acuity worked. The interview was scheduled right at the perfect time. These questions that I asked, wait a minute, I can ask these same questions to the next person. I don't have to change them. I can, sort through all these people that are coming through onlinejobs.ph. I can sort them by that. Like, this is a lot less difficult than I thought it was going to be. So that would be my biggest challenge.
Getting out of your own way can be hard sometimes, and perfection is the enemy of progress. And Michael has made tremendous progress. Being a dream firm leader is about fundamentally understanding those principles. You will never have perfect. It does not exist. But we constantly prevent ourselves from getting to a new place, being able to start to delegate, to be able to just get a job board posted so that we can have the actual reason to develop interview questions, to test an Acuity scheduling link, like all of these things. Like, a lot of people, they live in the land of theory. But I like to say, let's actually just move the one thing forward that will force you to implement the rest of this. Because if you spend a tiny bit of money and all of a sudden that you've got to get a return on that capital, whether it's related to marketing or operations, it doesn't fundamentally make a difference. You will now do way more in a way shorter time period just because that one little spark of action propelled you in an entirely new direction that you knew you needed to go in the first place. Like, this was not a revelation. We knew this had to be done. It was, what's the first thing that's going to kick the rest of this into gear? And then it becomes kind of addictive, doesn't it, Michael?
Yeah, no, it really does. I'm like, I can like outsource, somebody making my coffee in the morning. No, stop. No, I can't do that. So, Tyler, what I would say furthermore is that what gets addictive is that you're like, okay, so the system I put in place is not perfect. All right, so it didn't, like, what's not perfect? Well, it's not syncing with Outlook. Well, then all you got to do is fix that little thing, and then it's done forever, like ever. And so then you start having all these systems, like, wow, I have all these systems in place, and I don't really felt like I spent one day doing a whole bunch of work. But if you look back, like, wow, that's a lot of stuff that I've done. But over the course of time, I didn't really feel like I was making a big leap every day. I think the problem is, Tyler, is that, okay, stopping what we're doing, I'm like, all right, even if I just do one thing today, that will be one thing that I didn't do yesterday. And that to me is the addictive thing, is like, wow, this is actually really taking off.
People see me make this motion all the time. Small wins stack into big wins. And sometimes as entrepreneurs, we don't even realize how much we accomplish in a day, let alone a week, let alone a month, quarter, half a year. I mean, it can be incredibly impressive when you know what to focus on and you have some accountability, because as many of the people on this call, solopreneurs, we don't necessarily have a Marine to bounce an idea off of. Some people don't have a coach to be able to say, wait, why have you not done this yet? Post the job, right? Like, post the job, right? Like, yeah. You do this one thing and see what happens. As soon as you just do this one item and stay focused on it, the rest will follow. It's almost like a game of dominoes, but you just have to know which domino that you need to push, and will make everything else a lot easier. I think Tim Ferriss uses that reference quite a bit.
And Tyler, I wanted to say about coaching as well. The difference between coaching, having a coach and not having a coach is when we don't have a coach, we believe that we're the best source of our own information. And I would say that the things that you've told me, and you've told me so many things which have helped me the most, are the things that kind of like I was not expecting you were going to tell me. I'm like, I did not think about that. And it kind of caught me off guard. And so then, having a coach is, similar like in sports, when you're on the field, say if you're in soccer or wrestling, whatever the case is, you're battling right there. But it's that coach looking off to the side, like, if you just move your leg that way, you'll be totally fine. But the problem is you don't see that your leg is the problem. So that's been the biggest thing. I wanted to say one last thing, that I think we've all heard the Tony Robbins comment that we overestimate what we'll do I think I'm going to butcher this, but overestimate what we're going to do in 10 years, but we underestimate what we can do in a year, or something like that.
It's the inverse.
Inverse, yeah. I thought it was going to be the inverse, actually. So anyway, but it's just if we little steps will just make huge differences.
Yeah, and some people, I'm very positive, but I can also be critical. And when I say critical, I don't mean that in like I'm not critical of you as a person. I'm critical of the decisions and our thought processes, even myself. And of course, I have a coach who's critical of me and gives me feedback, and Maureen and I feedback. And I think that without that, you kind of live in your own echo chamber and your own bubble, and you think that you know best. And what I've learned as an entrepreneur is that we oftentimes don't know best. We need to be able to validate whether or not what we think is best. And if we have someone to just kind of have that conversation with, you can get to better, because best doesn't really exist anyway. But you can dramatically improve your thought process and your decision-making process, and therefore the end results of those decisions, with just a little bit of extra communication and feedback. And this is something I've realized, and we've got to speed up a little bit because I can see questions rolling in about dashboards and all sorts of stuff and your workflow systems. So my point here is like, I've realized that people who have a partner will typically be able to have a similar experience, where it's like, because you have to be able to defend your ideas like I do with Maureen, and you have a spouse, like you have to be able to make sure that you have someone in some capacity that you can use as that sounding board. And that's oftentimes the role a lot of accounting professionals provide for solopreneurs themselves, because they don't have that. Sometimes people aren't investing in coaching at all, but now you've got an accountant who's got all of this perspective from all of these different industries, from extremely high levels as CFO as you were, and you get to bring that into a conversation with someone who thinks they know best. Then all of a sudden they go, oh, I didn't really think about it from that perspective. I think you just saved me a lot of money and a lot of time, or helped me to make a lot more, a lot faster. That's fundamentally what advisory is, ladies and gentlemen. So I gotta move a little faster here. What would you say to someone considering our services right now?
I would say that if you're running your own accounting firm, if you're thinking of running your own accounting firm, then they need to work with dream firms. Like it's not like, oh, okay, well, I'm actually good. Like, we can always be better. And so if you've not gone through the dream firms, and I've worked at Grant Thornton, I've worked at large accounting firms, and so even at that large level, it's a manufacturing plant. It's really just like, yeah, we're a big firm, and that's great, but that doesn't mean that they're doing like the really good and efficient work. You can be a partner, you can be like a two or one partner firm, and make $2 million and walk away with a lot more money than you could if, let's say, perhaps you're a firm in one of the big four and, spending, working 70 to 80 hours a week. I mean, and you're not really the partner, you're kind of a glorified employee because they can get rid of you at any time. So, I would just say that anybody who's ever wanted any kind of freedom, which is probably why they got the CPA in the first place, if you think about it, they wanted that liberty, then they just need to work with dream firms, because somewhere along the lines, you're going to say something to them where like, you know what, that's been the missing piece that I've been looking for in my firm. And I didn't even realize. I knew there was something, or maybe I didn't, but that's been the missing piece. So, I mean, there's always going to be something that they can find to dramatically increase their firm.
Much appreciated. Michael, why do you consider this one of the best investments you've made in your business?
I would almost say, to a certain extent, it's, first of all, truly changed my life. And anything else that I've ever done has never given me such hope for my own accounting firm in the future, like plain and simple. I mean, I can't really, that's just the core of it. I mean, there's the details of, yeah, I'm getting more clients and stuff like that. But now, like, you know, because my firm is completely virtually remote. I mean, completely remote. I don't meet with any of my clients personally, and probably never will, other than like, you know, retreats and here or there or something like that. So now I was like, okay, this is working. This will work. And it's really just given me the confidence, like, I'm going to have an awesome virtual accounting firm going forward. And every year it's going to be better.
Exactly. Gets better every single year, every single day.
Yeah.
What has surprised you the most when it came to growing your practice?
I'm sorry?
What has surprised you the most when it came to growing your practice?
How like easy it was. Like, if you really think about it, it's like, this is not like difficult. Like, you just have to like turn different levers and like, you know, do a couple of different things. And like, wow, I'm actually getting a lot more clients, and I'm getting high quality clients, and I'm doing less work. I'm sleeping more. This is like, what's going on here? That's the thing. So
it's a magical thing when you realize that you don't need to work harder to get better results. Like, there's only so many hours you can work. You have to work differently. And as soon as you know what those different things are that you need to do, like you said, it's like almost like pulling levers. You just go, oh, wait a minute. This is what I need this week or today, or in this particular instance with this client.
It's the 4-hour week type of, you know, Tim Ferriss 4-hour week type of thing. Like, if you just, what is it that makes our life easy? Okay, getting high paying clients that we can just focus like our core competency on that one, let's say, metaphorically speaking, hour of time where we're just focusing like all of our high level value, and then making systems everywhere else where we're not scheduling, we're not handling our own emails, we're not doing our own social media. And so, you know, other people would say we're cheating. I think we're just doing it in a smart way. And why not spend more time with our family, right?
Perfectly stated. Perfectly stated. We're going to go lightning round here. How close are you to winning your first Dream Firms Award? For those unfamiliar with what the Dream Firms Award is, essentially any client of Dream Firms that adds $100,000 in new annualized billings to their accounting firm qualifies as a Dream Firm Award winner within 365 days. So, Michael, is that something that's on the horizon for you? How close are you?
That's a 2022 trophy that's going to be up there. So
can't wait to get it for you. And then last one, I roughly answered this earlier. Who would you recommend to create your Dream Firm program to? And we have Q&A coming up after this. So if you got questions, get them in real fast. We already have a pretty big list, but go ahead, Michael.
Who would I recommend the Dream Firms to? Any accountant that is running their own firm or thinking of running their own firm, period. But even if they don't have their own firm yet, because, you know, even if, you know, CPA, non-CPA, bookkeeper, anybody in the financial, like almost anybody in the financial advisory world would like tremendously find value in this program.
Beautiful. We are now in the Q&A section. I got 5 minutes. We're going to go pretty quick through these. I've got a question from Kenny. Michael, love the dashboard angle. Can you share how you started to learn how to deliver that service? I don't know where to start.
Okay, so I think the best thing to do is what I would recommend you do is start reading the blogs that are coming from Spotlight Reporting. It's a company that is a Xero partner. They're more focused on Xero than QuickBooks Online, but they put out a lot of just really good articles on what it means to actually analyze financial statements and what, like, the whole idea of financial reporting, not just, you know, let's say what comes after in the notes of the financial statements, but just value reporting.
Beautifully stated. Jeffrey has a question. What system are you using for workflow and delegation?
So I use TaxDome, which is just incredible. I would say anything that's practice management, just run it through TaxDome, and make sure you find a way to run it through TaxDome. Don't just say, oh, I'll use TaxDome and then I'll use this. No, find a way to run everything through TaxDome.
Exactly. Use the tool to its fullest, please. It's amazing. Amber says, very cool approach, Michael. Do you still plan offering tax prep and other accounting services?
Yes, I do. Yeah, but it's going to be probably not me that's doing it. It's going to be a team underneath me. So
That's a dream firm leader mentality right there. Jerry, how do you price out building a dashboard? I've tried it before, but there was too much scope creep to try to do it again. Interesting question.
So yeah, so I mean, what I really try to do, it's not really the dashboard itself, like building it out, that causes the biggest issue. It's or that causes the biggest amount of time. It's customizing what already exists out there, be it Fathom or Spotlight Reporting or any other things that like Fury is another one as well. And just customizing it to like connecting it to the accounting system, be it QuickBooks Online or Xero, which I use only those. From that point, just what I would recommend is, yeah, you can put a $300 to $500, what we'd call, let's say, a first month fee to kind of just cover the fees of like connecting all that together. And then after that, depending on the amount of time, $500 to $700 monthly fixed fee, but then it covers, let's say, the financial reporting and let's say bookkeeping that you can do as well too.
Exactly. Jeffrey says, who do you outsource to?
I outsource to now some very good people in the Philippines who are just incredible.
That's my place right there. Love the Philippines. Shout out to all the Dream Firms team members helping us out over in the Philippines. Olivia says, thank you for the interview, Tyler. Our pleasure, Olivia. Thanks for hanging out. Leon, I'm not sure. I want a virtual practice too that lets me hang out in cool places. We'd love for you to be able to hang out in cool places like Michael and I do. So we'd love for that to be the case for you. Ulfric, dashboards are the future of accounting. Couldn't agree more. Glad you hung out with us and agree, Ulfric. Jeffrey, we already tackled that question. Thanks for aggregating that one, Maureen. David says, what platform are you using to build dashboards? I believe we covered this, but just one more. Do you have a primary one, Michael, that you like over the other ones?
You know, I was using Fathom, but I'm finding that Spotlight Reporting is just doing a much better job. And actually, I think they're pushing the envelope a little bit more. I would even call Spotlight Reporting a thought leader in themselves for dashboards. So I find them to be a better product.
You heard it there. Okay, Barry, I've had clients ask me for the service, but don't want to deliver it. What do you recommend?
So I would just, say to people, it's really simple, and you sell it to them by really asking them like a question, like, do you feel that if you were to monitor your financials, my dog is crying right now. It's totally unedited interview right now. But you ask the person, do you feel that you would be able to become more financially successful if you were to look at your financial statements and then know what to do to change that? And I was like, well, of course. Well, that's what I do. And I can provide both the bookkeeping and the forward-looking thinking. So at that point, they're like, so you're saying to them without saying them, you either want to be successful or you don't work with me, and that means you don't really want to move forward. So
perfectly stated. And what's up, puppy? Appreciate you chiming in. Some great questions coming from you. Woof, woof. Let's see. I've got one other question, Reggie. For how did you pick your niche, Michael? Sounds intriguing.
So really, the people that influenced me the most, being thought leaders, I'm like, I want to help those people. And I really said to myself that if the whole world was full of more thought leaders that were commercially successful, like just think about how better the world would be. I'm like, okay, well then I actually want to help those people become successful. The big corporations, they're making a lot of money, but that's how I chose what I wanted to do.
Beautiful. We're at the top of the hour here, so we got to run. If you want to experience what Michael has and all of our clients in terms of becoming a dream firm leader, creating your dream firm, please understand that there will be a link floating around somewhere here that will allow you to book a call to explore exactly what that entails. Michael, do you have any parting shots, or does your puppy have any parting shots? You're on mute. You're on mute. Oh, wait, I got to unmute you. That's right. I got to unmute you. Go ahead. What do you got for us?
No, sorry about that. But it's just a wonderful program, Tyler. I can't thank you enough. Truly changed my life.
My pleasure, man. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Again, you're the spitting image of one of our dream client avatar. And again, for those of you looking to get closer to your dream firm, we can help you do that 1,000,000 times over, solve whatever problem it is, getting you out of the weeds of fulfillment, elevating you to advisory, getting marketing systems to get the right type of clients to raise their hands and say that they are interested in working with you. So from the bottom of my heart, Michael, thank you for investing your most precious resource with us and helping to educate our audience. And remember that only you can make your dream firm a reality, but we are here to help you every single step of the way. We'll see you on our next interview and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your work week, everyone. Talk to you soon.